Hello, everyone. My name is Em, and this is my journey through cash budgeting. Every week, I sit down with my envelope, face the real numbers, and give every dollar a job, no matter how big or small. I'm still learning, adjusting, and saving with attention, one paycheck at a time. So if you're in a tight budget, please sit along as I tell you everything that I learned cash stuffing in 2025. It's crazy because I've actually been doing these introductions for like 6 months now, and I'm still not used to it. So definitely something to work on in 2026. Now, I've had so many questions from friends and family, and even some of you on YouTube asking me how I got started cash stuffing and what I've learned over the years. However, while I don't really remember every single detail from the beginning, I do know exactly what cash stuffing taught me in 2025, especially since starting this channel and using it as a financial journey to stay consistent with saving challenges and just savings in general. Before I get into the lessons, let's quickly recap 2025. Out of all the years I've been cash stuffing, which is not that many, I can confidently say that 2025 was the year I accomplished the most and truly saw how much cash stuffing changed my life. I was able to travel. I went to Mexico, I went to Spain, France, and I just came back from Portugal. So, yes, achievements were definitely unlocked this year. And I'm talking all of these wins with me. I'm taking all these wins with me in 2026, ready for the new adventures and new goals. Another huge win this year was the $5,000 that I was able to save for my I Love Big Bucks challenge. Prior to this year, I saved close to $3,000, and then I finished the year with roughly 2,000. Now, my I Love Big Bucks challenge is my non-negotiable, so it's money that I pay myself every paycheck. It's what keeps me consistent, motivated, and I'm incredibly grateful for that system. Very, very grateful. I also ended the year with $10,000 in my FHSA. If you're in Canada, you know how big that is. I started the year with just $2,000. So ending the year with 10,000 is something that I'm very much proud of. So now let's get started into what cash stuffing taught me this year. Lesson number 1, my wallet cannot be forgotten. In the past, I've always focused on cash stuffing my binders, and I started at first cash stuffing my wallet. However, one of the biggest downside was me constantly having to go to the bank, especially when access wasn't easy. I lived very far, and sometimes I would forget. That's when my credit card became my best friend and also my biggest problem. Because I was in cash stuffing my wallet, I just kept on tap, tap, tap. Whether it was my credit card, my debit card, tap, 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 without actually putting money aside and set aside to pay myself back. That led to accumulated balances that I now have to deal with in 2026. So you guys will definitely see how I handle that. So in 2026, my wallet will be my priority. It will be a priority, and I will not forget it. So my mindset will be in the new year, if I don't have money for it, I just don't buy it, period. Lesson number 2, my credit cards are not my money. Since I wasn't stuffing my wallet, my credit card took over, along with the interest and the high balances. But thanks to this amazing community, I've discovered a system that I'll be using in 2026, which I will be mentioning very shortly. That way, I will still earn my points without losing control. The real shift for me this year was realizing that my binders and my money in it are exactly my bank. So they've become my bank, and my credit card was not the bank that I've always leaned on over the past couple of years. Lesson number 3, my I Love Big Bucks challenge is not an emergency fund. If you're new here, my I Love Big Bucks challenge, like I mentioned prior to, is the money that I pay myself. Now, I've gotten so many feedbacks from financial advisors, banks, and everything. And one thing that has been consistent is to always remember to pay yourself first, no matter how big or small, because it will accumulate over the years or the months. So this is essentially money that I can use for whatever I want. But because my emergency fund wasn't really stable this year, I kept dipping into it for emergency. For example, a couple weeks ago, I needed some dental work, and I realized at the appointment that my insurance did not cover it. So I had to take $200 from that challenge and actually pay the difference that my insurance wasn't able to cover. I was grateful that I had it, but it taught me that I need a separate bucket, so I'm not constantly pulling from my money that's meant for me and meant for joy. So that will be definitely something that I learned this year, and I will try to incorporate into my setup next year. Lesson number 4, always pay yourself first and have buffers. Every binder represents a pillar of my life, whether it's my emergency, my travel, my low priorities, my sinking funds. Everything represents a pillar that I want to constantly save for. But I also learned the importance of having buffers. So in each of my setup, you'll always find a binder that is dedicated to myself or several, depending on which category, let's be honest. And it's essentially extra money outside of my main challenges, my main categories, my main envelope. That's always constantly reminding me to put some money aside for myself, just in case I overspend in those categories. Then I have that money for myself as a buffer on top of my buffers in order to allow me more flexibilities and more leverage. That way, when life happens, and it always does, I'm prepared without sabotaging my long-term goals. So either it's my I Love Big Bucks challenge or dipping into my future savings, my emergency fund. I always have that buffer separate from the others. Lesson number 5: low priorities still matters. My low priority envelopes were basically empty all year. Like, guys, it was actually pretty sad. I had $0 in I had $0 in like all my, like the entire binder had $0. I think the only categories in my low priorities that was cashed off was myself. And then in my sinking funds, the only categories that was cashed off was my night sky, which is my 2 cats. And that's because I had to cash off for it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to afford their food or litter throughout the year. But my low priority envelopes were basically just empty all year. Personal care, hygiene, dental, gifts. I didn't even set aside anything for Christmas, nor birthdays that were coming up at the end of the year. When I say it was just not a priority for me this year, it was empty. So low priority doesn't mean unimportant. That was one of the things that I learned this year, that because I may not buy hygiene products every single month, but when they do come, I don't know where that money is going to come from. So that was something that I needed to take very seriously, because when I get my hair done and getting those braids, and it was $200, and I was just like, oh, I don't know where that money is going to come from. So also had to dip into my I Love Big Bucks challenge in order to cover those expenses. But I did learn that saving the $5 here and the $10 there do add up, just like it did when I first started cash stuffing. Now, this lesson hit really hard because there were a lot of things that came up last minute. Not that I did buy a lot of Christmas presents, but a lot of things that were coming up. And I had no money in the envelope. I was looking at my envelopes. I was like, Emmeline, help yourself, but I couldn't because they were empty. So that is something that I would taking seriously in 2026. Lesson number 6: unstuffing changed everything. So cash unstuffing actually clicked for me this year. I finally understood unstuffing. I've watched several videos all throughout our community from numerous cash stuffers and how they go about unstuffing. It does look different for everyone depending on the distance to the bank, their lifestyle, what they do, how they go about managing their finances. So understanding unstuffing and how I can incorporate it in my life was something that just will help me. I haven't tried it yet, so I don't know. I think it will help me next year. So it's essentially going to help me allocate my money first in those envelopes and then use my credit card responsibly. And then once I've utilized my credit card, I can unstuff and pay myself back. Because one of the things that I learned this year is that my binders and my envelopes are now my bank and not my credit card, which when I had that mindset previously, it just kind of screwed the entire plan and the system that I was working on. So I'm going to try it that way in 2026. Now, this is something that I have to implement moving forward because it creates an accountability and structure. That way, I don't have to rely on my credit cards or that next extra bonus that I'm going to get to pay myself back. Now, I do know that no system is perfect, so I will try in 2026. And if it doesn't work for me, maybe try to see if I can incorporate something else. But I will try the unstuffing and see where that might take me. Lesson number 7: emergencies are more than just big disaster. Now, please let me know if any of you guys deal with these kind of things. But this year, emergencies were anything. Like, I didn't, I overspent in one category, emergency fund. I, took my friends out or went out to dinner, overspent in that category, emergency fund. Like, it was just, it was anything and everything. And then later on, I had car issues, I had dental work, I had medical surprises, and then I had nothing in my emergency fund. So I think I really had to learn to redefine what an emergency actually is, and stop using my emergency fund for just things that could have just been sinking funds. But like I mentioned, I wasn't cashed up in my sinking funds. So unfortunately, they were emergencies or just money I was taking out of my I Love Big Bucks challenge. But now, because of this, I am now building a proper emergency fund. So I've actually stopped for the last half of the year on my emergency funds because I was just like, okay, I need to stop reaching out to it and trying to kind of see and figure out what it means to me before I start incorporating or cash stuffing or money into that envelope, so I don't be tempted. So I'm not tempted to use it. So I'm building a proper emergency fund. I'm also building right now a 3-month ahead fund. And proud of myself, in just 2 months, I've already saved $600, which I'm incredibly proud of, because $600 in 2 months, I still don't know where that money came from, but I had it and it's saved. And that's probably one of the things that I will have to kind of see for 2026, and just kind of make sure that my emergency binder essentially is just very stable and consistent, to be able to achieve those goals. Lesson number 8: a bill calendar is life changing. So when I first started my channel, I introduced the idea of monthly budgeting or monthly prep, which was essentially a way for me to have a big calendar and point out when I was going to get paid, and from when I was going to be paid, be able to pinpoint exactly what bill fell into which pay period, so I can visually see when I do receive the money exactly what was going to come out of that account and what I needed to cash stuff or prep for. Now, knowing when my money comes in and out really changed everything for me. And the fact that I don't cash stuff my bills, but having the calendar really helped me pre-budget for when they were going to come, avoid any surprises unless I just kind of, subscribe to a new subscription last minute, and reduce stress as well, because then I know exactly where my money was going to go and how it was going to go, and kind of pre-budget for, prepay a bill that was going to come, like, say, a couple weeks later, knowing that I was going to make that much for that pay period. So that really was very helpful, and it's something that will 100% be coming with me, not back, 100% be coming with me in 2026. Lesson number 9: saving should be fun. Now, saving challenges completely changed my mindset. Spooky Mondays, Miscellaneous Mondays, Freebie Fridays, Merry Mondays, I think it's just a few that I've been seeing within our community this past year. And let's just say, for the 2 months that I actually tried it, I was able to save over $500. I believe the exact amount was $590. And I actually enjoyed it. When it comes to budgeting and finances, bills are stressful, life is stressful, debts are stressful. And I felt like having, just looking forward to putting that $50 in just like random challenges, and like scratching off that $5 or that $10 that you were able to save for, actually help. And then at the end of the year, being able to hold yourself accountable for all those little, small minis that you were able to do these, all these weeks and those times. And it made saving feel less miserable. And I think what I learned from that is that if saving feels miserable, it won't last. And fun was what really made the consistency possible. So I will definitely be bringing that with me in 2026. Still haven't managed to see how that was going to go, but it will be fun to figure out how I can try to fit it into my routine. So for our final thoughts, finances are something that's very uncomfortable to talk about. I still have people that are, just a little bit skeptical to bringing the subject with their partners, their friends, their parents. But I think that's exactly why I started this channel. I was in the same boat or same situation. Now, Once Upon a Dollar is actually my journey towards financial stability, not wealth, not millions. For me, financial stability means bills are being paid, emergency funds are fully funded, debts are under control, and a system that lets me spend and pay myself back without any stress. More money doesn't always mean more peace. Trust me, if that was the case, every rich people on earth wouldn't have problems. But however, I do think that stability is knowing that you're okay. And even if life throws you a curveball, if you know that you have that reassurance that you're working towards something. Now, if you're scared to start anyway. I think I prepped for my YouTube channel like years prior to, and I just started this year. Start anyways. It is scary at first, but you start having a routine, and it does definitely help. Now, this journey will teach you about yourself. It will teach you about your habits, your patterns, even the ones you're afraid to admit, the ones that you just didn't want to admit yourself. Trust me on that one. But as always, if you have any questions, do not be afraid to leave them behind. Maybe something about this video, more questions that you have, I will definitely do a part 2 or mid-year kind of things that I've learned in 2026. But as always, I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful week. And with that, I will see you in the next one. Now, only 2 more days until the new year, so I hope you enjoy it. Bye, everybody.